Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a financial meltdown that happened, well, pretty much at the speed of light.
Picture this, $1 trillion on May 6th, 2010. That's how much value just, poof, vanished from the US stock market. And what's really insane here isn't just the number, it's the speed. We're talking about a complete market freefall and recovery, all in the time it takes to make a cup of coffee. No joke. So, what on earth caused it? To solve this trillion-dollar mystery, we've got to treat it like a crime scene. And that means we need to understand the high-tech, super-fast world of today's electronic markets. Let's set the stage for that absolutely chaotic day. Okay, first things first, we have to get the background here. Because, the market never operates in a vacuum. And the stage was already set for some serious anxiety. So the day kicked off with this huge cloud of uncertainty just hanging over everything. This was all fueled by the European debt crisis, right? People were terrified that the Greek government was about to default. Then, by the afternoon, the pressure was really on. U.S. markets were dropping. And get this, some individual stocks lost over half their value, only to just bounce right back moments later. It was absolute chaos. So you're probably asking, how is a collapse like this even possible? Well, the answer is buried deep inside the engine of modern trading, the digital marketplace itself. Yeah, and we're not talking about a physical book here. This is a super high-speed digital ledger called the limit order book. Think of it as the beating heart of the marketplace. It shows you exactly who wants to buy, who wants to sell, and at what price, all of it happening in real time. Okay, let's walk through how this works. An order book basically starts like this. You've got the buyers, we call those bids, down at the bottom, and they're willing to pay lower prices. Then you have the sellers, or asks, up at the top, asking for higher prices. And that little gap between them, that's what we call the spread. Now watch this. See what happens when a new order comes in? This one is called a limit order. It's an order to buy 100 shares, but only at a very specific price, $98.75. The system just automatically slots it right into the book, keeping that whole price hierarchy perfectly in line. Okay, but things get really fast when a market order shows up. This order is basically screaming, sell 200 shares at the absolute best price you can find right now. And boom, the exchange's matching engine finds the best buy order and executes the trade instantly, just eating up the shares available at that price. And just as fast as those orders are placed, they can be canceled. Look, that buy order just got pulled. And just like that, the entire supply and demand picture changes. Here's the most important takeaway. All of this, the placing, the matching, the canceling, it all happens in microseconds. We're talking millions of times a second, all across the entire market. It's mind-boggling. So this lightning-fast, almost chaotic environment, it turns out to be the perfect hunting ground for our prime suspect, high-frequency trading, or HFT for short. So what exactly is HFT? Well, the SEC has a few key characteristics they look for. At its core, it's about using insanely powerful computers to fire off a massive number of trades in just fractions of a second. These firms, they jump in and out of positions at a speed that's hard to even imagine. And here's a critical piece of the puzzle. They often cancel orders just moments after they submit them. Remember that part. It's going to be really important later. It all just boils down to one single thing, a relentless, obsessive pursuit of speed. A really good way to think about HFT is like applying the principles of big data straight to the stock market. Their algorithms are just crunching a massive volume of order book data at an incredible velocity, pulling from a huge variety of different market feeds. And they're doing all this to find these tiny, fleeting little trading opportunities that are so valuable, but that no human could ever possibly spot. But here's the big question. Is this kind of trading actually good or bad for the market? And honestly, it's a huge debate. Even a legend like Warren Buffett has a pretty complex view on it. On one hand, he's questioned whether these HFT firms are really providing liquidity like they claim. But on the other hand, he's also pointed out that for the average person, you and me, the cost of trading has literally never been lower. Okay, so now that we've got a handle on the digital marketplace and we've met our main suspect, let's reconstruct the timeline. How did all of these different forces collide to create an absolute meltdown? The first real tremors started to be felt around 1 in the afternoon. As all those fears over European debt started to bubble up, the euro began to fall and fall sharply. And right on cue, volatility, that's basically a measure of how wild the price swings are, it started to climb all across the US market. Fast forward to 2:30, and the selling pressure was getting really intense. The market's fear gauge, the volatility index, it was up over 22%. The Dow was already down 2.5%. You could just feel that the whole system was under some serious stress. And then we hit the tipping point. Around 2:40 in the afternoon, the buyers just vanished. All of that buy-side liquidity, all those buy orders that were propping up the market in a limit order book, it was suddenly gone. A complete vacuum had just opened up. And with zero buyers there to absorb all that selling pressure, the automated systems just went completely haywire. A cascade started. These HFT algorithms, which are all programmed to react to what the market is doing, they started selling to each other. Think about that. They were caught in this vicious feedback loop, chasing the price down and down and down at a speed that was just impossible. So, after the dust finally settled and that $1 trillion somehow reappeared, what was the final verdict? What did we actually learn from this near catastrophe? Well, the official report from the SEC and the CFTC concluded there wasn't just one single bad guy. Instead, it was the definition of a perfect storm. You had a really fragile market, you had one single massive sell order from a big institution that kicked off the slide, and then, and this is the crucial part, you had that sudden withdrawal of liquidity by the high-frequency traders. That's what turned a bad drop into an absolutely historic crash. The response was actually pretty swift. Before the crash, the rules were kind of all over the place, totally unprepared for this new level of speed. So afterwards, regulators put in some new safeguards, things like market-wide circuit breakers. These are designed to automatically just pause all trading if there's an extreme drop. It gives the market a second to catch its breath and hopefully prevents one of those runaway cascades from happening again.
Look, the 2010 flash crash was a terrifying wake-up call. There's no other way to put it. It proved that this high-frequency algorithmic trading, it's the new normal. But it also exposed just how fragile a system can be when it's built for speed above everything else. And it leaves us with this really critical question we all have to think about that delicate balance between technology, regulation, and financial stability. In markets that are built for pure speed, who is really in control?